Welcome, listeners. Today I'm excited to have my first ever guest. At times I have my co host, Katie, but today is an actual guest who's going to be sharing from his actual perspective and his story. And his name is Vincent Lanci. And he was so kind to have me on his show called A Mental Health Break. It was really fun. He was a great interviewer and listener, and he has a story too. And I want to give him an opportunity to share his story with you. I think we will all be very encouraged, inspired, and there's a lot to learn. Vincent is pretty young, and yet I think he's gone through enough to have a lot of wisdom. And I really want to share that with you all today, as well as myself, because I'm very curious to hear more. So, Vincent, did I say Vincent? Vincent, welcome to Angry at the Right Things.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone for tuning into her show. Remember to like, subscribe to her show. She's very dedicated to putting out great episodes, and I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, tell us about you because I just saw the little short video clip you sent me about what we would call a tragedy, but it seems like it wasn't just a tragedy. It ended up morphing into maybe a big blessing and really kind of changed the course of your entire life. And I think we can all learn a lot from that. And I just really want to hear more. So go ahead and you take the floor.
Yeah, well, I'll take you back to where the mental health journey really started a few
Mhm.
days before what should have been my last semester as an undergraduate. Some friends and I went out to celebrate a birthday. I decided to walk home the safe route, right? Getting in the car
Mm.
with someone
Yeah.
who's drinking wasn't my cup of tea. On the walk home, interestingly enough, I was hit by a car leaving a bar and woke up about a week later out of a coma. I had to relearn to walk and talk, you name it. When I woke out of the coma, the nurse looked at me, said, "Vincent, which school do you go to?" My response was Pulaski Road Elementary School. So I was a
Mm.
21-year-old finance student, two, three classes away, graduating, but I was set that far back. So from there, as you may imagine, there were some harder days than more recent time. You could say you're go from denial to acceptance, and then once you accept what happened, you can kind of move forward. But I was a guy who could glance over a study sheet before an exam, Bronwyn, and get a B and move on. I now was a student who had to read, write, type, listen even over and over again to retain just a bit of the information. So I was built on a strong work ethic. They're grateful for watching my parents work very hard. But after the accident, mine went to a whole new level where you have this new look on life. And I had a finance and an MBA degree where giving up that paycheck, the guaranteed money, was very hard to do. But
Mm.
chasing the corner office and the job title, like I thought I wanted my whole college career, getting the degree, ended up not giving me much satisfaction at all. So I stepped back, started writing, started podcasting, and then fast forward to today. That's how Bronwyn and I connected.
Yeah. Well, Vincent, I'm especially like you say, you woke up thinking you were in elementary school, that it set you that far back. But actually, in elementary school, you probably were proficient at walking and talking and toileting. And so it sounds like it sent your body back to like infancy or.
I mean, imagine you wanting to use the bathroom and you can't because you have a
Mhm.
leg brace on because I have a titanium rod in my leg plus the traumatic brain injury. I would have to push a button and wait for someone to wheel me to the wheelchair and go to the bathroom. I have to learn how to not just pee again, but also use the bathroom and clean
Mm.
yourself in the bathroom and what have you, learning to shower. And that's where, and I'll share a story from the TBI. You have a difficult, I won't say you, I had a difficult time, and most other TBI survivors, with separating dreams from reality in the beginning. With the brain bleeding and the drugs you're on in the hospital, I must have seen something on TV, and I was in the shower. Picture a sports style locker room with nozzles and what have you, and I'm on a plastic bench, and someone's just standing over me with the water, and I'm putting soap on me or whatever. I look at the drains and the water. All of a sudden, I'm seeing red water. My brain flipped to I was in the Silence of the Lambs. It was a really weird thing that I still vividly remember. That
Mm.
we don't know. Obviously, there wasn't really red water coming out of the drains, but I can swear by this moment that it really happened. And that's one of the scariest things. The leg injury, it is what it is. I can't run anymore. Oh well. But as far as the brain injury, that was the scariest because that muscle is
Mm.
hard to retrain and retrain properly, and you have to work with what's best for you. You learn that your brain's not a one size fits all, your mental health's not a one size fits all. Just because
Mm.
I like exercising for my mental health, that may not work for other people. So, other things I had to do to get to where I am, hey, this doesn't work that well for me, but these things do. Let's incorporate those things into my day to get through the day.
Mm. Wow. That's a lot that you just shared. The therapist in me wants to like,
Hmm.
psychoanalyze the red water coming out of the shower, but I'm not going to go there. But you know, I do want to ask you, like, I'm imagining that with help with the toileting, which by the way, I have a friend who is a physical therapist, and I learned that word recently. Toileting is what it's called, helping a patient. You needing help doing that or help showering. I mean, that is such a humbling experience. And you're so vulnerable. I mean, you're literally doing the most vulnerable things in your life. And you have someone helping you who's like this stranger. Maybe it's a female, maybe as a male, that's even harder. I would imagine it probably plays a factor. And how did you not give into despair? Or tell us about that temptation, because I see despair as like a beast that's kind of always lurking just in the corner waiting for us to acknowledge it and give into it. So how did you battle despair?
Certainly, the despair monster is in every room, and it's the easiest monster to give into. The hard thing is to actually believe in yourself and go against expectations because they are just that, what people expect. And if you've watched one of my talks, you may have heard me say that, but it's true just because someone else gives you a timetable. Mine were
Mm.
24/7 aid the rest of my life, never going back to school. All these things that were supposed to happen never did because I dedicated myself to something. But to answer the full question, my family was in New York. I'm down in Florida. My family got a call in the middle of the night. Hey, is Vincent your son? If he is, we can't say much on the phone, but you need to get to Florida immediately. He may not make it through the night. So this motivating fuel was this call. My parents had to go through that back in 2013. There was no Zelle, Venmo, Uber, all of these things in the middle of the night, scrounging money, getting the plane tickets,
Mm.
only flights to Fort Lauderdale, no direct flights to Tampa. So they have to get to Fort Lauderdale, call Tampa General Hospital. Hey, is Vince still alive before we board that next plane? So those things stuck with me. My parents sacrificed a lot for me throughout my life. Mom was in the hospital with me every day. I was there almost for a month. All of these things push me to push myself as hard as I can in a healthy way with what I do with Coming Alive podcast production because books and podcasts, as you know, they change lives. And for me, it's the best business
Mm.
card I never knew I needed was a podcast. Having someone like Bronwyn come on my show, learning about each other, that type of networking is unbelievable. Pushing upload and your message goes to the whole world. So when I'm having
Mhm.
mental health conversations, especially,
Mm.
the impact you can make is unbelievable. You'll get the one or two trickler listeners from another country or something realizing, oh
Mm.
my, look at the work that we're doing. It's hard to appreciate what you're doing while you're doing it. I was someone who didn't think my story mattered. And then I spoke for my MBA commencement and did traumatic
Mm.
brain injury support groups. And I
Mm.
realized the power of, hey, you don't have to be this famous, crazy celebrity for people to care. If you share your story, you'll realize someone else or countless people may have gone through something similar. People may
Mhm.
not have got hit by a car from behind and then a TBI, but other people, or traumatic brain injury for everyone who's not familiar, other people have gotten a TBI. So, how we recover can help each other. The tips and tools we
Yeah.
can share, you never
Yeah.
know how far it can extend to someone.
Yeah. So I'm hearing, first of all, it sounds like your prognosis. So you said expectation, the doctors, the medical prognosis, I guess that's the word for a medical doctor's expectation, was pretty bad. I mean, you needing round the clock care the rest of your life, never going back to school. that's as bad as it gets. So did having your mom there, did something, the support you received, did something make you just reassess that and kind of reject it and have hope for yourself? I'm just really curious.
I don't know the exact turning point of when it happened, but there was a ton of bickering with mom and I and all of these things. But the difference maker was I didn't miss one appointment, one meeting, anything. I was in Florida. It was like 85 degrees, 82 degrees when I left. Got home in New York, snow up to the back doors, 20 something degrees. These things, I said, I'm not going to let someone else's poor decision ruin my life forever. Last semester of college, right? Your friends and you're all about to walk and start your lives, and that was just pulled. So I said, I'm not going to miss these guys and girls walk at graduation. I'm going to be there. Somehow I was able to even walk at graduation after practicing around my parents' house, walking against the wall, training myself how to walk again, relentlessly doing these little things because I knew that
Mm,
it was just so close to a finish line and my life was just getting started. And it was stripped because I made the right decision to walk home instead of driving after you leaving a bar or getting in the car with someone else. But life, as everyone knows, is full of uncertainty. And you can sit and cry, why me, why me? But you have to realize then you let the situation win. We all go through different terrible things. We go through beautiful things, but you have to realize we're going to go through some negativity and it's going to be up and down in life. But if you let the bottom situations of your life dictate you, then that will be
mm,
where you are. It was
mm.
very easy for me to roll over and do all these things. I have one aunt that says she can't believe I didn't just hang out on the couch all day the rest of my, and that was it. But you got to want it. You have to find what you're passionate about and just freaking run with it. Because for me, I mean, I'm up at 3 a.m. every day. We're recording this late in the afternoon. I'm still full of energy doing podcasts because we're talking about things I
Mm,
love to talk about. So filling your day with these activities, at least for me, trying to build a career that actually makes sense for me instead of
mm,
the corner office, which I went to school during the recession in 2009. So it was a safe major, but it wasn't really a passion. I wasn't like, yes, I'm at work. I was looking at the
mhm,
clock a lot of times. So now it's
mhm.
like, okay, we can make a difference now that I know where I'm supposed to be.
So, Vincent, I'm hearing that you say you didn't let this horrible event win, but let's be honest, this horrible person who left you for dead was really the person who didn't get to win. He or she did not get to win by robbing you of your life. And that's what I'm really hearing, that you said, no, I refuse to allow you to win. I refuse to let you rob me of a beautiful life. And the winning that you did wasn't just jumping back on the wagon and finishing the career and the trajectory you were on. The winning was you chose to take back your life and you chose to change it to make it much more satisfying and filled with purpose and meaning.
Mhm. You're 100% right. And I couldn't have done it without a support system, not just my family and friends, but the communities from home. They, did a
Mhm.
fundraiser for me. I was in a coma, so I don't know. But even down here in Tampa,
Mhm.
I mean, early mentors that heard my story and started believing me more and more, like, hey, you got to get that book done. You got to get your first book done. I'm like, who the heck is going to read this book? Right. And then all of a sudden you get the book out and can't believe it turned into a career. Right. It was just me sharing my story. Then I'm like, okay, I've got no money to market this book. How do I still learn to share my story with no budget? So I learned
Mhm.
how to do a podcast. And as you know, the ton of work that goes into that, a full
Mhm.
time, unpaid job, failing every step of the way, right? Failing, learning these lessons,
Mhm.
and now tweaking it like you, where you have these systems in place and you're able to just have fun podcasting instead of worrying about the whole process, what to do. But I mean, as much as I would change it for the world, I wouldn't change where I'm at right now because we're still just getting started. This is almost my 10th year in a few months in entrepreneurship. And it was 8 years of finding my own way, not just
Vince.
with my business, but my health.
Yeah.
Finding how do I stay really healthy every day?
Yeah. So it almost seems like you nearly being dead. I'm going to just say like left for dead. And then like people thought you were dead. And then like that prognosis being having no hope. It almost seems like your trajectory of learning by doing after that and making all those failures and learning as you went what like came more naturally to you because you'd already kind of lost everything. So it was like, okay, I have nothing to prove now, right?
I don't even know if there's ever going to be something for me to prove to anyone but myself. And that's the beautiful thing about leaving a sector like corporate finance, where you always want to look better than the person next to you. Here in entrepreneurship, every conversation, someone's trying to connect you, help you, whatever. So you really have a strong community. But I'm
Mm.
just going to keep going and going because the guy who hit me, not only was a hit and run, took like forever to find the car and get my blood off it, all that. He didn't do a single day in jail because of the particular laws with the hit and run and
Wow.
what have you. So for me, I had to then go to court every 6 months because in the state of Florida at the time, you can appeal your house arrest every 6 months. He got the, house arrest, this, that, really crazy offering instead of jail. He would never apologize for almost 3.5 years. And this guy's, his lawyer's making his speech, whatever, him and his friends staring me down in the courtroom. It was a whole ordeal looking at my near killer in the eyes every 6 months. And 3.5 years, unfortunately, again, the laws, if you don't get in trouble while you're in trouble, you can make it go away. And eventually the probation was terminated early. The house arrest was terminated early. And that's just it. He's out in the streets. I got awarded money by the state, but I'll never see it because the person on paper doesn't make much money, and I
Mm.
never banked on getting any money. But it is just crazy how someone could live their life and get away and didn't obviously care because he didn't apologize for so long until he wanted to really get off house arrest. Then the apologies started flooding out. So the whole ordeal can
Wow.
shape your mind on how you view things, I guess, and can't go back on. You have to push yourself to be the best you can every day. It may not be the Olympic status or where your
Sure.
biggest dreams are, but if you're showing up for yourself today a little bit better than you were yesterday, you have to consider that a win.
Yeah, it seems like you have like just yeah, again, like how old are you, Vincent?
33.
Yeah, like you just have this wisdom that and honestly, I want to say that someone much older has, but a lot of people go to their graves never having the kind of wisdom that I'm hearing from you. And it really seems like, I want to say there's probably an idiom that says this better, but you really thriving and flourishing in your life is the best revenge for the man who nearly ended it, and it seems like you're kind of really embodying that. And it seems like, I like to say that hope is not an invisible, abstract emotion. We Westerners say things like, oh, I really hope this happens. And we think hope is just like some nebulous thought or feeling. And it's not. I think hope is embodied in our, little tiny mundane daily choices. And I'm really hearing that in your own story. You chose to hope, you chose not to give in to despair every step of the way.
And the little things I did to really make it happen weren't things that cost money. It sounds simple, but when I time block each day before bed, and when you check off that meeting or check off that, it gives you the momentum to keep going. The small wins as a business owner. If anyone out here is trying to become an entrepreneur, just know you'll take 9.9 no's out of 10 tries.
Mhm.
Sometimes some weeks I'll do a couple hundred sales outreach, you won't hear back from
Mm.
anyone. All of these
Mm.
things, you have to be resilient, and from by accident,
Yeah.
resiliency, getting better. Okay, I did again. I never saw myself being an author or being a podcaster like you. It's something that came natural because I wanted to share my story. And now it's just when you finally get to look back, when you get little win, small progress, right? I published 5 episodes. Now I did 10 episodes. And then somehow we kept going for 5 years. I don't know. But just
Mm.
I can't get to 5 years without getting from weekend one, getting through that
Mm.
first week. Okay, am I giving up? I had 3 people listen this week. No, I'll do it again. Okay, I had 4 people listen. I really got a handful of downloads per episode for months in the beginning. Why didn't I throw in the towel? I don't know. There's a grander plan for the podcasting, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, I just love that. I love that you just chose that resiliency. That resiliency is a choice. That's that I think that's like my takeaway, Vincent, from your story. And also just how, I have one podcast episode that I called The Goodness of Evil. That goodness can be a catalyst for, or sorry, evil, human evil can be a catalyst for us to kind of have an awakening and make a different choice in our lives and redirect. And that's what I'm hearing. You're pursuing a life again that is meaningful and satisfying, and you're really embodying it. And that is just really encouraging, and it's really inspirational.
I appreciate the kind words, and I'm just trying to do what the path is laid out. It wasn't easy to even get today from yesterday, but literally 2 years ago, I'm an MBA graduate in the restaurant, right? You have an MBA published book, your ego is going out the window, which is a blessing in disguise because now I'm back as a busboy trying to make ends meet. I'm trying to grow and grow. I'm working 3 part-time jobs because I quit my main job. All of these things help shape you, I guess, and build better connections. Like today, right? We met, and again, a cold reach out, everyone. So don't give up on your networking. You never know where you're going to form these professional relationships. And now it's exciting because you can do 6 month check-ins with people like I do on my shows and bring her back on and connect with everyone again. And then from there, you don't know where it expands to, right? We're just getting started in podcasting. Even years later, you never know which conversation you're going to come across next as a host. And that's one of the funnest parts for me. I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, I mean, I love podcasting because it's so democratic. Growing up, it was only the experts who got any kind of platform. And it's
Yep.
just so nice that we all have something to say and we can learn from each other things that we would never learn otherwise. And I just appreciate that. Yeah. So, Vincent, tell us a little bit about where, listeners, if they want to hear your podcast, A Mental Health Break, what they might hear, like maybe some of the highlights that they would hear if they were to.
Sure. I have a couple shows. The first one actually was called That Entrepreneur Show. I interview founders of companies and brands from around the world. So if you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur, a wantrepreneur, or an aspiring entrepreneur, you can check out that show for honest testimonials. Bronwyn was nice enough to join me on A Mental Health Break, where you may guess with the traumatic brain injury, I wanted to create a show to normalize those conversations where sometimes it's a professional, sometimes it's an advocate, sometimes and usually it's both. If it's a professional, we come on and just talk about our authentic mental health stories, similar to today, just to let you know you're not alone on this journey. You can learn something, as she just said, from every conversation that may resonate with you, but you never know till you tune in. Then we got Writing with Authors, a YouTube series, short series, 10 or 15 minutes, interviewing writers to help aspiring writers on their journeys, and book nerds like me who want a new book for their queue. You can hop on there. And then last but not least is Pod O'Clock, where I teach people how to start a podcast. And that's a lot of fun for me because that's a new show. And as a special bonus for your show, I have my book, I Want to Start a Podcast. If someone out here is listening on who wants to start a podcast, they don't want to pay for coaching, or they can't, it's okay. You want to learn on your own, I'll give you a free signed copy. Just email the team podcasts by Lanci, that's plural podcasts, at gmail.com, and speak with Danica. We'll get you a book shipped out.
Yeah, and I read that book and it was very, very practical and very I want to say exhaustive. Like you really covered A to Z.
It was a few years because work gets in the way, and I spent a lot of time ghostwriting, which helped me fund more
Mm,
for my podcast production company.
mm,
And as a ghostwriter, you're getting paid for a contract. I can't really prioritize my passion
mm,
project just yet, and it's getting a little
mm.
closer, getting a little closer. I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I forgot to put something in. And there are actually some extra resources that you may not find in here, but there's, I think, 11 ways to scale and grow. Even though the book
Mm,
is I Want to Start a Podcast, I want to be able to help you refine your show or start from scratch. And it's I appreciate the kind words because there's a lot of love that went into that book.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reread it because I think it's yeah, there's just so much detail. I really appreciated that.
Thank you. And thank you for reading. And of course, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Everyone, again, please like, subscribe this show, share her podcast with your friends, help her keep growing because she loves what she does.
And same with Vincent. Give him a listen with any of those podcasts he mentioned. I'm on the mental health break if you want to hear more about me, but he has other options, and he has this is his life's work, and it's really exciting. It's exciting not to be famous. It's exciting to do the hard work. Actually, in a way, it's kind of more invigorating.
I prefer not the fame but unfortunately, as I grow, things are going to get big. What I love about the podcast production is now I'm behind the scenes. Now it's not my
Hmm.
shows, so it's nice to see other people get the joy that we have when you put that first episode out to the world, and you're like, oh no, oh no, oh no, no, it's out, and then you see the feedback come from it. Today was a lot of fun, Bronwyn. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. I will talk to you later. Thanks for having being on this show.
Thank you.
All right.